correct.
Don't you think it's a bit odd that what Hagrid wants more than anything is a dragon, and a stranger turns up who just happens to have one? I mean, how many people wander around with dragon eggs in their pocket? Why didn't I see it before?
Radcliffe does that performance so seamlessly that you think this is Harry Potter. This is exactly how Harry Potter would act. This is exactly how Harry Potter would think. And to pull that off at that young age, and he was probably around 11, maybe 12 at the time, is an extraordinary achievement.
For the role of Harry Potter, Radcliffe was reportedly paid slightly more than $500,000. It was a lot of money for an 11-year-old, but Daniel was also aware that if the movie bombed, he'd get the blame, and his career would essentially be over.
Can you imagine if you're an executive from Warner Brothers and on that first Harry Potter movie you have to cast the title character, Harry Potter, an unknown actor, and you're just waiting to look at those dailies, that first round of footage, and saying, please just let this kid not mess up.
On its opening day, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone made $33.3 million. It eventually outpaced all box office expectations and brought in over $90 million during its first weekend, breaking the record for the highest opening weekend of all time. It was clear now that Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was a huge success, and that Daniel Radcliffe was undeniably a star. He was now one of the most recognized boys in the world. Magazine covers and talk shows soon followed. Naturally, Radcliffe was brought back for the next 4 installments of Harry Potter.
He has the advantage. He was Harry Potter from the first shot. No one else had ever been Harry Potter. No one else will be. And so, if you like, the character carried him as much as his performance. His performance was very good.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, again directed by Chris Columbus, was released in 2002. This time, the movie was growing up with its stars.
After the first movie, there was some concern that he was so good that they were going to have to start rushing these movies because they were afraid once he hit puberty or once his voice changed or something, they might have to replace him. And they didn't want to do it because he was just so good.
Daniel was becoming much more comfortable in front of the camera and stretched his abilities when he needed to use his imagination to act opposite a computer-animated creature that wouldn't be created until post-production.
You can't have met many decent wizards then.
No, I haven't. It was an awful thing to say. Dobby!
Stop! Dobby, please stop! It's hard at the beginning, especially when you're dealing with a character like Dobby, who is so animated and just, you know, he's jumping about all over the place and making different facial expressions and stuff. So it's like quite hard.
The film was another huge success, proving that the Harry Potter series was more than a one-time fluke. And Daniel seemed to be loving every minute of his success.
Everybody thinks that I'm not having a normal childhood. Well, everybody says that, like, childhood, they seem to interpret it as just going to school every day and stuff. I think of it as just like having fun, and the past couple of years that's what I've been doing. I've been having loads of fun, and so I think I've had just a great time.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban followed in 2004, and Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire in 2005, which was more of a thriller than previous installments of Harry Potter and earned a PG-13 rating, a first for the series. Harry Potter's character was becoming more complicated, and Daniel was up for the challenge.
You can really see Daniel Radcliffe becoming more assured as an actor as the films have gone on, as he matures. But the things that all adolescents go through, we watched him go through on screen. You know, kids' voices changing, and they're getting taller, and they're having, you know, confusion and awkwardness around girls.
Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix opened in July of 2007 and tracks Harry's 5th year at Hogwarts as he attempts to warn everyone of Voldemort's return.
By the third film, things were starting to get pretty dark, and there was obviously some concern how he would handle the sudden shifts, the changes. I mean, there's some pretty bleak, pretty scary stuff in a couple of these last movies. No, he was up to it. I mean, he was showing almost an adult intensity in a lot of the scenes.
Radcliffe is reported to have made $16 million for Order of the Phoenix. and will make a whopping $50 million for the last 2 films in the franchise that have release dates set for 2008 and 2010 when Radcliffe is about 20. When that last movie in the series finally premieres, Daniel Radcliffe will have spent 9 years playing Harry Potter. And by then, his biggest challenge may be convincing audiences that he can do more than play Harry Potter, which is why on February 27, 2007, Daniel appeared in the revival of Peter Shaffer's controversial play, Equus. It was a daring career move that took many by surprise. In Equus, Radcliffe plays a troubled teenager who smokes, has sex, mutilates horses, and appears fully naked on stage.
Daniel Radcliffe is ripped. I have never thought in my life that I would say, like, oh, I wish I had biceps like Harry Potter. Like, that's a ridiculous thing to say, but he's in great shape.
On one hand, oh my God, is it okay to fancy the boy from Harry Potter? Isn't that feels a bit wrong? But secondly, just God. He is a man. He's turned into a man. How did that happen? You know, that seemed to happen without us noticing.
Warner's was initially worried that the Harry Potter franchise would be tarnished by the full frontal nudity and sex scenes. But some sources say that it was J.K. Rowling herself who steered Radcliffe toward the daring Equus role.
Here's somebody about whom everybody is wondering 2 things. Can he really act? And what does he look like with his clothes off? I mean, imagine how smart and how brave you'd have to be to just step up and say, let's all find out together. Can I act? And it turns out, in fact, he can.
And it seems to have had no effect on the box office returns of the 5th Harry Potter movie, Order of the Phoenix, which was released a few months later and stands as the 2nd highest-grossing film in the series. Daniel's latest film release isn't a Harry Potter film at all, but rather a small independent film from Australia called December Boys, a coming-of-age tale in which Daniel plays one of 4 orphans vying for the attention of potential adoptive parents.
When you come to December Boys, it's very interesting. He's not playing Harry Potter. He actually gets to make love to a girl. He's playing an Australian, and there's no magic.
The roles I do outside of Harry influence how I go back and play Harry, because every time I go off and do something different and prove to myself that I can do another type of part, it gives me such confidence that when I go back to Harry, I feel I can be much bolder with this character that I've been playing for so long.
Daniel Radcliffe hasn't been alone in experiencing firsthand the Harry Potter magic. He's been helped by 2 actors who had embarked on their own special journeys before finally arriving at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. After 5 films, Emma Watson so embodies the character of Hermione Granger that it's almost impossible now to think of anyone else in that role.
Emma Watson's the perfect Hermione Granger because she has spunk. In her real life, she's a very upbeat, challenging type of girl, and it's almost a hand-to-glove fit for the type of character Hermione has to be in these films.
She was right for the role. I mean, if you think back to when the first Harry Potter was, whoever would have got it would have been right in the sense they were going to be Hermione.
Emma Charlotte Dury Watson was born on April 15, 1990 in Paris. Her parents are Jacqueline and Chris Watson, English lawyers who are now divorced. She lived in Paris until the age of 5 when she moved with her mother and brother to Oxford, England, following her parents' divorce. At Oxford, she attended the Dragon School, where her teachers were so impressed with her acting in several performances that her name was passed to casting agents for the role of Hermione Granger.
My school put me forward for the audition. I think there were about 16 of us all together auditioning, girls and boys ages from 10 to 12.
They had gotten, of course, thousands and thousands of videotapes. And she, unlike Daniel, had no prior acting experience, so for her, this was completely new.
She eventually outperformed thousands of other girls who had applied for the role. And after 8 auditions, producer David Heyman told Watson that she had been cast for the role of Hermione Granger. When Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was released, Watson was still just 11 years old.
I think that Emma Watson was totally believable as a certain kind of little girl. J.K. Rowling has said that Hermione was much like herself at the same age, kind of a bossy, precociously smart little, know-it-all who, was the kind of prototypical girl, perfectionist, A student. I mean, she's a pretty little girl, but she's not someone who's such a raving beauty that that's all you can think of. You really believed in her as a nerd, which is what she has to be fundamentally to play Hermione.
But like a flower blooming before our very eyes, Emma Watson, the cute 11-year-old bookworm, was suddenly a star in one of the most successful motion pictures of all time.
Emma Watson, from the start, appeared like the one who was most likely to make it. She did seem like a professional on screen. She seemed to know what she was doing. She seemed to know where the camera was. She seemed to pick her angles in a way that the others weren't